Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters here in Toronto, Canada. Hi guys, how you doing? Hey dude. You having fun? Lots of people gone to the bathroom. I will totally sign that for you later, man. Boom headshot and all that. We just saw some incredibly epic ZVP, and the winner of that is going to come back on stage pretty soon. He's moving on. His hopes are alive for the final 16 for BlizzCon. But his opponent is from Korea, which a lot of the opponents today, they're from Korea. It's kind of been a thing, right? There's a running theme here from Korea. But from Korea, his name, he plays for the team StarTale, and I think he's only 17 years old, but I've been watching him play for what feels like 5 years, so I don't know if he became a pro at 12 or not, but that's kind of the feeling I'm getting. He is a former IEM champion. He won the Intel Extreme Masters in New York, and he's here to show you his great play. Please put a warm welcome together for StarTale Life. And his opponent, completely exhausted from the marathon 2-hour match that y'all just saw, from Norway, Team Liquid's Snute. Good luck, guys. I'm gonna throw it over to Paul and Co at the couch there, the comfy couch.
Thanks very much, Jarrett. He's a cad, isn't he? Boom headshot indeed. Autographs are free, by the way, from Jarrett while they're here. I think he has a booth somewhere as well here at the Fan Expo. We're having a lot of fun backstage, of course, and enjoying the matches. That last one, of course, terrifically long and very interesting, despite the fact that it had nasty swarm hosts in it. We are going to just update you as to where we are in the tournament as well, because you might be a little lost if you're just tuning in or if you've just joined us here at the Fan Expo. So let's show you bracket first off, bracket 1, and show you how it's going right now. Jaedong, of course, won his opening game against Bones, but then went down 2-0 to Huck. And Huck now, the hometown favourite, is in the upper bracket final against Bunny. Crowd very happy with that here. They will be playing after this match. We will bring you that one live from the stage. The winner gets a place in the round of 16 tomorrow in the group stages. At the bottom half of the bracket, as you can see right now, Lenok has just knocked out Jaedong.
After losing to Huck, he didn't waste any time. 2-0 Bones, 2-0 Oz, and 2-1 Jaedong.
And that's the second consecutive tournament that he has gone out in the early stages. What is wrong with Jaedong right now? I mean, we're used to seeing him. Okay, he hasn't won everything, but last year, 5 second places and then that win at the end of the year. We've seen him get to semi-finals this year. Why is it so different for him?
Maybe, you know, when some lack of motivation, you know, sometimes being pro gamer can be hard. Like you're gonna have a few months where you have a little bit less, just a little bit less motivation than other months, and that can make a world of difference. If you don't practice nearly as much, if you don't have the same drive, then you end up kind of forcing yourself to play, you know. Maybe he's not been having as much fun. Could be a number of things. He could also maybe be putting too much pressure on himself. People always put a lot of pressure on him.
Okay, open bracket 2 has also been going on. You've just seen one of the long games of the day. Snute beating our former double IEM champion, CJ Hero, in 2-1. Life winning the upper bracket, of course, in his semi-final with a 2-0 win. They'll now meet in this next match, but the bottom is where we want to check out right now, the lower bracket. CJ Hero will now play Stardust. One of them will go out of the competition, incredibly, at this early stage. Revival 2-0ing Desro, who won his first game in that lower bracket, and Revival will now play the winner of those two. Some incredibly skilled players left in the competition, Kevin, and some of them aren't going to make it through. It's incredible.
I was out in the back watching the ends of that last game between Hero and Snute, and Stardust was not pleased. He was watching as Hero's defenses were faltering. He's like, no, I don't want to play Hero. I want to play Snute. I'm going to all in him. He's not going to do this to me.
Stardust actually never lost to Snute, so I think ideally he's 6-0 in series, so ideally you would have liked to play against him.
Stardust living in Europe, he's seen Snute's style so many times.
All right, let's focus on this this upper bracket final now first. Life versus Snute. Two players that, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think we did pick out those two, along with Hero, as being the three players that we thought would probably go through to the upper bracket final. But Snute's had a terrific run. he's got to keep this going now. What did you say to him earlier? He said you gave him some advice. What specifically did you say to him, Todd?
It was specific to ZVP, because he doesn't seem to be confident other than with the Swarmost and about the map selection too. So I just told him, like, I think he's much better than he thinks he is, at least in ZVP as well. So he definitely needs to have more confidence, try to play a little bit more styles. And we saw him mix it up pretty decently. Like, overall, it was always the Swarmost, but with different openers, and really adjusted well to what his opponent was doing. I did have a word with Life today before the games begin, and I asked him which matchup he thinks he's doing well right now and which he's having a tough time. He said he's only having a tough time against Protoss. So he was probably very relieved that, as opposed to Stardust, that's not one.
I mean, I want to touch on this a little bit. We talk about stats a lot when we're doing WCS, not quite so much when we're doing Intel Extreme Masters, but it's worth bringing up. His statistical ZvZ in GSL and overall in Korea over the last 2 years is astronomically good. He just doesn't lose in ZvZ. Why?
Well, you know the exact stats?
Go on.
Well, what is it? No, I'm asking
he's
you.
Actually asking you.
I think 85% win rate.
Yes. With Life, I mean, I'm not even surprised.
I mean, why? How?
I don't know.
The very biggest part of the game as well, where all the, top players are playing, and yet he just doesn't lose in ZvZ very often.
From what I see with just kind of what I know about Life as a player, as a style, everything we've been saying makes sense. Life is a very aggressive. He does so many run-bys. He's like a knife. He's always cutting.
Here we go.
He's dashing in, and he's slicing at his opponent, and he's backing out. And
so Life is now Mac the Knife. That's his new nickname.
And that's what ZvZ is all about.
Okay. Incisive. I like that.
Yeah.
He's like a surgical surgeon.
No, because surgical has too many positive connotations.
Right. Oh, okay.
He's like a Jack the Ripper.
Oh, so he's a bit more random. You never quite know.
Have you seen the way he plays some of these timings?
Yeah.
You wonder. You really do. It's like
I think Life thrives on like low units count, low economy games. His crisis management is one of the very best out there. Like, he's had comebacks, more comebacks than anybody else in terms of best of 5 being down 0-2. So maybe that's what makes him so good in ZvZ. But he's going to be up against somebody who's pretty good himself in ZvZ.
I was going to say, let's talk about Snute in that respect, because his ZvZ is pretty good too.
At Red Bull Detroit, I was watching ZvZ with Snute, and I was, I knew this event was coming up. I want to increase my knowledge, and basically what I learned from Snute,
you're switching from Terran to Zerg,
is that all you have to do is make more roaches than your opponent.
Wow.
And
Kevin,
you will win.
Really? Did you just go there?
And that's basically...
I was hoping we were going to avoid this mass roach thing. But
ZvZ according to Snute. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here. I'm expecting to see a lot of roaches.
Yeah.
And he even made up terms like the launch pad, which is the edge of the creep. And when you're chasing, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. When you're chasing your opponent's roaches off the creep, and the opponent's roaches slow down because they're off the creep, but yours get that little extra boost. That's the launch pad. Okay, so let's upgrade our knowledge here. There's also the corner snipe. And what that is when roaches are pathing around a corner, they tend to get bunched up, and they don't move at the same movement speed. So if you continue to chase, you can snipe them.
Snute used those terms.
Yes, he used. I'm not making this up, man. I was watching these games. He's like, look here, this is the corner snipe, and like 2 roaches died as they went around the corner on Catalina. And then he gets really excited about the launch pad, like he's literally ready for a rocket to launch.
What's burrow then?
Not sure.
No, you don't get burrow because that reduces the amount of roaches you can make.
Oh.
And same with tunneling claws. I was like, Snute, why don't you get burrow? You can keep these roaches alive. He's like, no. We just wait. We'll just wait for them to regenerate, and we'll make more roaches.
Not sure it's troll.
No. Totally serious.
I don't think he's trolling.
I'm not trolling right now. I don't have to troll. It's so ridiculous. That's what I thought.
If Snute wins, we're going to ask him about the launch pad.
We're definitely, it's all about the launch pad.
The launch pad and the corner snipe.
We're almost ready. Thank you very much, gents. And thanks, Kevin, for the Zerg insight. I'm now definitely going home to play Zerg games. That's it. We're going to head over to the commentary team and enjoy your first open bracket upper final. The winner of this one goes through to the round of 16, which starts tomorrow. 12 players already waiting for them. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Snute or Life?
All right, as we have our Zerg versus Zerg gearing up and good to go between these two. Snute carries a lot of hopes on his back. He's one of the only Europeans here representing, and right now he's looking pretty good. He just defeated Hero. I mean, how much more better can you get?
You pretty much beat one of the best Protoss players in the world, and you're on the launching pad, as it were, to get into BlizzCon. He's very close. Of course, getting into that group stage just puts him right up in there, looking at the money, looking at the potential for enough points to secure himself that that qualification seed. Of course, Life, he's always been good. I feel like it's not like I don't have a lot to say about him, but he's just always been consistently good. He's always been a scary player. Yeah. Never really bad. So there's not much fluctuation, I think, to talk about as far as his performance goes.
No, that's true. That's true. As we get into this in just a second, countdown's begun for game number 1. Overgrowth is going to be our map. 2 Zergs, a launch pad, and a corner snipe. This is a tale of advancement between these two. One of them is going to go to the group stage, as we have, spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, it's our blue Zerg, representing StarTale. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Life.
Of course, Life. He's had a pretty good couple of years, I'd say, in StarCraft 2. Often touted as one of the youngest champions in pretty much most of the tournaments that he won, at least during the time that he was able to win them. But his opponent, we just saw him play an absurdly long series. Definitely was not an easy match for him. He, of course, is our red Zerg player representing Team Liquid. He is Snute.
Snute.
Snute's not had a bad year himself.
Snute.
He's bringing out he's rolling out the cheese wheel straight from Norway to start this game off.
Yeah, man. I wonder if they do that. We actually do that in England. It's you roll cheese down a hill. And
I've heard of this.
Yes.
I've heard of people getting injured at this.
It exists. It does exist. Those cheese wheels are big and they are deadly. So let's see if Snute...
This 9-pull is a seriously big wheel of cheese. So.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's rolling it down the hill and Life might get hit.
What's important right now, of course, in ZvZ, drone scouting isn't really a thing. So if Life wants to get a little bit greedy, he'll build his hatchery at 15 supply. If he opens up with a 15 pool, I think 9 pool is not... It's really difficult to get anything done because you're not likely to actually delay an expansion. Yeah. And, well, Life starting up this hatchery. It feels like I'm watching Scarlet, man. Scarlet loves to open up with 9 pools on this map, and I think holding this hatchery is going to be very difficult because he's still building drones.
Yeah, exactly. And now the thing is that Snute technically here can start wiggling around with these Zerglings that come out if he wants to avoid Overlord positioning because of, you know, like how those Overlords go across. He knows normally where those are going to be positioned. He could, of course, just run straight, but let's see what he chooses.
To 10 Zerglings. What? He's still building just Zerglings with his larva. So what this means is, if drones get pulled by Life to try to hold on to this, it's unlikely to work. But keep in mind, he also got his extractor before his spawning pool, so his Zerglings are going to be incredibly late for defending this. I really don't think it's possible for him to keep this hatchery.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult, that's for sure. Life here, though, we've got to remember, we've always got to come back to this when it comes to ZvZ for Life. He has impeccable control. We've seen him defeat the likes of Hyun, the likes of Jaedong, the likes of Leenock, all these guys that are super, super good in this matchup, but Life somehow seems to stand above them. Now, how is he going to react to this? Right now, he's not really doing a whole lot to deny that, so it looks like a cancel is on the cards.
Yeah, Snute has made an absurd number. I think the only reason you let this finish is because you want the Broodlings to help kill the Zerglings.
It's true.
It's a common mistake, I think, by Zerg players to try to avoid killing this hatchery and try to just run straight into the main base with your first few lings, but right now, he has enough to overwhelm the 6 larvae, so he has to use drones to fight, and it's going to delay his mining. Meanwhile, Snute, I mean, he could just go take his hatchery back home. He's building drones, we can see.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, if you do actually let that stay alive, it does buy a little bit of time for your main to not be exposed to all of this, right? So that's what Life was banking on. But for now, this is forcing him into a little bit of a stuffy situation. He's going to have to fight this off. Snute, for now, doing all right. Not doing too bad.
If you're forced to use drones to fight like this, if you lose any drones at all, it's really bad. He's killed a single drone. Keep in mind, of course, you also, when you lose that hatchery, you lose the drone that was originally there, too. He has another drone going down he wants to build a hatchery with. If he can block this, This is already still very annoying for Life, and I really like Snoot's position. The only thing that's weird is he's going to follow this up with even more aggression.
Yeah, that Baneling Nest going down before any hatchery of any kind here for Snute means aggression is going to keep coming. Now, does he hide the Lings here until his speed finishes? But then he has to be very careful about these Lings chasing and making sure that they don't get into the main to spot this. But he also sees a hatchery hasn't gone down. Life knows that.
The Overlord's at the natural for Life. There's no beating around the bush. He's very, very aware that there's some sort of follow-up aggression coming from Snute. And as he's like, yeah, he's going to start this hatchery, but then he sees those Zerglings come down.
Yeah.
You know, Zergling speed's close to finishing. It'll be done for Life too, but Life starts to spine in his main base. The best part about this for Snute is that he can't put it on the low ground yet. So when his speed's done, he can make a lot of Banelings and commit and cancel the natural again. And as late as it might seem that Snoot's natural is, he should still actually have his base up and running before his opponent if this attack goes as planned.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bold move here by Snute, considering it's Life's ability to be actually able to read into it, saying by not actually seeing that hatchery and seeing it now so late. There's a few Banelings morphing in. They're actually going to go a little around maybe whilst this speed versus speed battle ensues. And again, going up against Life in this situation can be very, very difficult. His control is normally good.
Oh, love the Banelings at the top of the ramp. Gets a fantastic connection with Life's forces, and suddenly Snute, I mean, this is one of those moments you get a call. He's still building a few drones, but he could trump out a lot more Lings if he really wanted to. Still, he's going to focus on workers because Life has to rebuild all those Zerglings he just lost in case he gets counterattacked. But the Queen getting picked off as Snoot's forces leave. Bit unfortunate.
I mean, even those Lings dying before was a little bit uncharacteristic there of Life. He even saw them with the Overlord. It's not like high ground was working against him there. So losing those was, yeah, I'd say a little bit uncharacteristic. But this game is going to continue out. Drones are now on the way between these two. And I think Snoot's probably abandoned these plans for a little bit because Life is just well on top of knowing what's going on. Of course, he'll push across because he has to make these Lings useful in some way, right? They have to be doing something.
If Snute gets another Baneling connection, I really like his position, but he's already up in drones because all those Zerglings had to be replaced for Life. And Snute just want to hang back. All you really want is one more big Baneling hit, and then you're going to have maybe 3-4 larvae that would have been going into drones go right back into Zerglings. And that's the last thing that Life wants to build right now. As we can see, he's just been trying to squeeze drones out this whole time.
And he was always afraid of a little bit of the attack, so he's had actually 4 Queens during all of this compared to the 2. So Life is pretty hunkered down defensively during all of this occurring. 3 Overlords now on the way for Snute as well. Is he actually going to pump out more units? Yes, he is. He's going to pump out a lot here. 12 more Lings on the way to, I guess, make sure that his third gets down whilst he's trying to take it a little bit earlier than Life.
Yeah, this is interesting. He saw that there was only one gas.
It's misplaced. He has actually misplaced that.
That's awkward.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate there. So Snute kind of feeling the pressure a little bit during this game. Again, Life does have a tendency to be able to just kill you on a whim, but...
Yeah. The thing is, Snute doesn't have any follow-up tech. We don't have that lair from him. The third base is nice, but if you let Life get a bunch of roaches, he'll just kill you off 2 bases. So the Zerglings managed to break up on the wall to help with those Banelings, but killing everything else in the base of Life, well, that's asking for a lot.
That's 12 Lings against 8, but at the same time, the Queen support should be enough to be able to push this back. One Baneling tries to get a connection and does kill a few Zerglings, but not too many. These Queens will be able to push this away, and in the end, the hold will continue here.
Yeah, Zerg versus Zerg always has this very interesting seesaw motion with the larva because Snute just finished up around about 10 drones.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's like, okay, he's going to get a little bit ahead in workers again, but now he needs to build more units, and Life can choose to either attack or construct additional Zerglings himself. Snute knows that there's only 2 bases for Life, so he has to be prepared for the possibility that Life just builds, you know, a bunch of roaches and tries to kill him.
Exactly.
And I don't think that Snute can defend both his natural and his third base if that happens because he doesn't have a lair. He's starting up Carapace upgrades and just more and more Zerglings.
And what you just said there is very important. He doesn't have a lair, and he saw Life's lair all importantly. So now he knows that he is going to be behind on that tech. He's going to have to somehow buy time whilst these roaches are maybe dancing around and things like that. And, you know, having a lot of Lings can buy you that time. They're very mobile, of course.
He has to deny this third base somehow. If Life gets on even economy with better tech, the game becomes very difficult to win. Even Snute, a little bit of indecision being shown. He had melee upgrades on the way, canceled it, started his ranged upgrades, so now he's just behind doing the same thing that Life was doing. The only advantage is his income. However, he doesn't have the tech necessary to translate that into a real advantage just yet.
Link's trying to engage here, but not going to get too much done. The firepower as well as the tankiness of those roaches will push it away. And for now, the attempts at doing anything at this third have been foiled. And again, his third being a little bit misplaced isn't going to be as lucrative as he would truly like, unless he puts a few more drones there. But as you said before, a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I like the Roach positioning back home for Life. He's done a really good job of holding off against these Zerglings because it would be a really big pickup if Snute could have killed that third. If he could cancel it, just prevent that mining for a little bit longer. And now these Roaches are going to attack. +1's about to finish up for them, which will make them incredibly more cost-effective against these Zerglings. Takes a whole less volley to kill them with that upgrade. And Snute, he's starting to put out Roaches now, but they don't have the upgrades. They don't have Roach speed. They're just going to get swallowed.
Yeah, the fact that these Roaches are going to pop out like in a staggered motion into Life's Roaches here, whilst he currently has 20 on the field, this is like dividing and conquering here for Life. So this is a really, really good engagement for him, a really good trade. A few of the Roaches at the back are being kind of pulled away, but this is the desperation moment here for Snute. He knows he's up against the wall. He has to pull the drones, but so much pressure is being put on from Life here that this just could be the killing blow.
Yeah, Snute's upgrades are close, but they're just not there. The Carapace finishes up. He's already lost his natural. Drones being forced to fight, forced to run, are simply not going to accomplish what he needs, and the third base is done for Life, but he's just continuing to pour out Roaches, rallying across the map. Just Queens will not be enough. And this first game, man, it's looking like Life should be able to take it up now. 100 supply to 60.
Realizing the threat a little bit too late, unfortunately, here does Snute, as Life just continues to show why he is very, very strong in this matchup. Able to hold off, good aggression, make very key decisions, not even cancelling the hat trick at the beginning, buying himself a little bit more time in the main. All these small things here as Life now shows why he is good in this matchup. GG. Game number 1 goes to Life. 1 game away now from qualifying from the main tournament.
Yeah, this is the kind of play we expect from Life. As we've mentioned, he's won tournaments all around the world, GSL, MLG, and IEM himself, and this has just been a really good opportunity for him since he did come in as one of the replacement players for the open bracket participant. I believe he replaced Sasquatch.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Now, all importantly, the jacket has just come off for Snute, so now it's go time. Now it's go time.
Yeah, Snute, he played a really tough match against what I would say is probably one of the top 3 Protosses in the world against Hero. Being able to win that, as nice as it is, you switch matchups and there's no darkness inside of you that you can pull out like a Swarm Host build to win, even when you feel like you're on the ropes. So he just has to play straight up. That's what Zerg versus Zerg has always been, very straight up. Both players are kind of bottlenecked into just only being able to use their control and their ability to hit injects to decide who wins. There's no fancy strategical plays that we see in this matchup that usually end up being successful over a long term.
Yeah, definitely. And you think about how that first game went. If you think about the 2 builds themselves, for example, the fact that Snute is committing so much of that gas, the Baneling Nest, extra Banelings, to a tech that, did it really do enough for him there? Did it really do enough to slow down the progression of Life to the point where he didn't have, Life didn't have a layer, or Life didn't execute this master plan of just a simple +1 Roach timing? Life is a guy that reads the game, sees how much you've invested in the gas there. It's a mirror matchup. He knows the position he is in compared to that and is able to exploit it. There was very, very little that Snute could do there to actually prevent that from actually killing him.
Yeah, I still like the opener either way. There's a reason why we see some of the top Zerg players in the world, including Scarlet, bust out the early spawning pools on that map very often. And I've seen Life himself do it quite often. Yeah. Being able to cancel that hatchery, kill a drone, maybe a couple more drones, of course, would have been nice for Snute, but I still think his opening accomplished what he was looking for. There wasn't really any issues with getting himself set up where he needed to be, but he just wasn't able to make the most of that. I think the follow-up with the Speedling Baneling was just asking for too much.
Yes, definitely here. Snute in the mid-game, going into Roach, can do very, very well. So I think he could stand toe-to-toe against Life in that situation.
Yeah, I think both of these players have more than enough skill to beat the other. Like it's not going to be one-sided if it goes long, is basically what I'm saying. I think I would like to see this go longer. However, based on the map, we're not really familiar with a crazy amount of ZvZ on this.
Yeah, it's very difficult to go for something really early. But anyway, let's get into it. Game number 2 now. Life is currently 1 up as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner. It's our Star Tail Zerg. It is Life.
Crazy to think in his early days, we thought he was like one of the youngest players out there competing, and nowadays we have 13-year-old grandmasters. In the top right position, of course, we have our red Zerg player representing Team Liquid. He is Snute. And it really must have taken a lot out of him playing that last series, playing for so long. I know, I'm sure you've felt this, Claris, when you play really long games, no matter what matchup it is, sometimes you just want to sit back and be like, I need a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I just got to go for a walk, man. That was intense. But Snute getting right back on the horse for this series. I really am curious as to how much that impacts him. You're just digesting in his subconscious everything that just happened.
Yeah, especially when you have to play a game like that against one of the best Protoss in the world. It's fair to say, Hero is one of the best Protoss in the world, and now he has to play one of the best Zergs in the world. Really, I mean, Life. When it comes to the best Zergs that are out there, he always has to be up there. He never really falls off too much. It's Life. He wins tournament, or has won tournaments left and right. So you got to be careful with Snute.
This game, once again, we're seeing an aggressive play out of Snute. He's opened up 14 gas, 14 pool. So just very fast Zergling speed is what we typically get out of this. Life, but we know that he likes to go hatch first into gas in a pool. So this is basically Life doing the more economic version of Snute's build. They'll both have pretty quick Zergling speed. And Snute's just looking to blindside Life because with it cross spawns, it's a little bit more difficult to scout. There's no way he can get an Overlord to Snute's base before there are queens out that can push it back.
Yeah. And all importantly, on a map like this in cross spawns, you can't get the Overlord there ever to see gas timings or things like that, very, very importantly in this matchup. So that's a bit difficult. Life is playing blind, as is Snute, but Snute is seizing the initiative. He's the guy that's going to be bringing the aggression. He's just going to be facing up against the gas as well of Life that technically will eventually have speed, but there is a window there. There is a window.
Yeah, this kind of plays into my question from earlier, though, wondering if Snute, if he's really that drained from that last series, like, I really want to just bring early attacks. If I can kill Life early, I want to. Maybe he's willing to play a long game, but he would sure as hell love to just get this over with if he could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think all in all, though, this build as well does, well, he had to Baneling Nest pretty quickly, so I was about to say that you can use this build and can take the middle road, like with the hatchery that he has behind it, and use this as well. I don't know what he's doing, so if I go for speed as well, then at least I know that I'm going to be safe, right? But with the Baneling Nest going down now as well, and 10 Lings now on the way, it's no doubt Snute here is going to be rocketing over the other side.
I'm getting the feeling that Snute built that hatchery partially because of the map. He's not sure that an Overlord from Life would have gone straight up if Life had spawned in the bottom right, and maybe he thinks, okay, maybe Snute opened up with a 15 hatch, or a 15 pool, excuse me, so I don't have to be concerned. But now Life realizes what's going on. He sees a lot of the Zerglings coming across the map. He's going to park his queens to cover this rocky area. This is one of the nice things about this map, is that it's very difficult to break this point.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. These Lings are going to have a really difficult time. There's no energy for transfuses on these queens just yet, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. And that's very, very close to a hole, but this is so... Oh, what a beautiful little wall there by Life. Just letting the Zerglings also do a little bit of damage to the opposite Zerglings. That was very, very nicely controlled.
Yeah, because if you let those Zerglings actually slip through, then things get ugly very fast. A very quick evolution chamber is a follow-up for Snute. I'm not entirely sure what this is for. This could be a quick Carapace follow-up attack, which we've seen. I've also seen players like Violet use fast evolution chambers for Roach play, but since he's already opened up speed, it doesn't seem like it would make a whole lot of sense.
And the only thing he really knows is that there's another hatchery.
His Zerglings aren't in position. Life just slips right by him. He's going to run to the main base. Snute has to bring everything home, using his drones to fight. That's not what you want to do, Claris.
No, not at all. Life taking an advantage here. 4 workers already gone down, and considering he opened up hatchery first compared to the little bit more of an aggressive stance of Snute, that's a brilliant little lead there for Life.
Yeah, he's building on a lead that he had much earlier, and we can see that Life's in a nice drone position. Snute's going to keep building drones to catch up. It's a little bit risky, of course, because if Life was building additional Zerglings, then things would get you know, quite ugly. It is a Carapace opening, or excuse me, follow-up from Snute. So I don't necessarily dislike this. It would counter. It helps counter against Banelings. It helps counter against the +1 missile attacks that we do see Life getting with his Roach Warren. But once again, Snute is opting for a layerless strategy versus his opponent.
Yeah, and that could come back to bite him in the butt. It really does depend on how this plays out a little bit later. Because again, if we see speed go in very, very fast here for Life, those Roaches could be over there quite fast. So
yeah, even cross spawn, like if you don't have any way to match your opponent's Roaches with or without speed, like if your opponent has speed Roaches, they just position and posture themselves much more quickly than you. You don't have many options as far as where you want to take a fight.
He starts to lay in Roach Warren now, so Snute here with his also his third base going down a little bit quicker than Live's could equal out those numbers because he has a shorter reinforcement point. Just make sure that his Roaches, once they pop, are all together really. Like they can't come out in staggered tiers like we saw in the previous game. You can't be making them that late, so Life can just divide and kill.
You know, these Queens are going to try to kill these Overlords, of course. You know, it's nice to kill the Overlords, but he wants to get scouting and deny scouting. So his Zerglings being able to slip through is really important because he sees, okay, you're building a lair, which means most likely I won't have to expect any aggression from you for a little bit. But these Zerglings, if they can kill these Queens, it'd be nice. They have transfuses, not really an option. But like I was saying, if you kill all the Overlords that are watching that walkway, and suddenly Life just says, hey, I'm going to try to max out or like get just a ton of Roaches with this Roach speed and try to kill you very early on, Snute, it's going to be more difficult for him to be aware of that. In fact, with his nearest Overlord is like in the top right area, so he might not see it coming. Yeah,
you're right. He's got to be very, very careful. That spine's actually quite important, considering the progression of this game right now. It's just Roach, Roach, Roach from here on out, though, for both of them. The only little disadvantage is that Snute is quite behind in terms of those upgrades, but did save his third base, so there may be a little bit of an edge of economy, since he keeps threatening down to that third as well with those Lings, and as the Roaches are moving out into the middle, like, you can't necessarily... Well, you have only Queens to really defend against that at the third, so you've got to be careful over there.
Yeah, you make a really good point, though. The upgrades are about to become a big issue as the fights begin. The +1 Carapace simply doesn't scale as well in Roach versus Roach. Roach is, they already have a base armor, and now he's just going to try to move in. This Spine Crawler is incredibly important for Snute. I'm just not sure if there's enough to stop the Roaches. The next wave coming is going to be even bigger.
Well, good to bring back these Lings to try and kill off this chunk, because he needed to kill off that chunk before the next ones actually get in the fray. Get it here. Again, drones off the line. Snute knows there is a little bit of trouble here. He knows the progression of his opponent's upgrades, and he's going to be trying fighting against this, but there are a lot of Roaches here for Life.
There's just too much here from Life. Snute has 17 Roaches on the way. The problem is the time he needed in order to get those forces out have already cost him a couple of workers. +2 attack starts up for Life. His Roaches are simply better at this point.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's working in favor of Snute is the time it takes to cross the whole entire map to actually get to Snute's base.
I mean, that +2 weapons for me starting there for Life is the sign of him saying, all right, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able to break this. With the reinforcement points here in this Roach versus Roach situation, I don't think I'm going to be able to break this. He assessed his opponent's economy, position, and then he's like, well, you're eventually going to overwhelm my position if I stay for too long.
There's a very short period of time coming up where Snute will have the upgrade advantage because of how his early Carapace. Now he's finished up his +1 ranged attacks, so he needs to make some magic happen here. He started up his +2 attack. He's, I'd say, not in the worst position that he could be in because Life was only operating off of a single evolution chamber for so long. But, you know, I will say that Life's already got his third base saturated. He's taken his gases there. Snute has not been able to take his extractors. And, yeah, it's going to come down, I guess, to the big Roach plays. But Life should have just a very, very slight edge in drones, at least.
It's funny how the upgrades work out here, because overall, because Snute got his +1 Carapace earlier, unless Life hits this +2 really, really well, which he could do because he's Life and he's really good, it might not be too bad for Snute, but he has to survive that period of time, right, where the +2 weapons is finished.
I mean, if Snute hadn't lost a couple of drones here and there, if he hadn't lost a couple of Roaches in those previous engagements, being 1-1 versus just +1 attack is really nice. At this point, each upgrade is basically one or more less volley that a Roach needs to kill another Roach, and when you have 35 Roaches shooting at each other, 1 or 2 volleys is a pretty big deal because at that point you could end the fight theoretically with most of your Roaches barely alive and a lot of his dead.
Yeah, and Snute here at this point with these spine crawlers here and positioning his army like he is. He knows that there can potentially be an imminent threat because when he encountered the first threat, he clicked on those units, saw that the upgrades were quicker than his, and he was like, right, well, this is about the time now that these things could be clearing up. They are, but just as things play out here, Life isn't trying to hit that window directly. He's going around.
Yeah,
so.
I love all of this. Life maxes out while getting while his upgrades finish, and then he starts 2 upgrades that you normally can't afford because you need to max out. That's Burrow and Roach movement while burrowed. So this is Life preparing his follow-up, and since he has more forces than Snute being supply blocked, can't produce any more Roaches to fight against this. He's trying to use the Spine Crawler, but as you said, the upgrade advantage now being back in favor of Life just makes taking a fight so much more difficult. These Spines are really trying to be the MVPs. I just don't know if there's enough Roaches to actually tank the damage before those Spines get their work done.
It's all about the reinforcement point. Once again, he somehow needs to get reinforcement Roaches here, but he's just not being able to. The drones came off the line again. He did push this back, though. Thanks to the help of those Spine Crawlers, they did, help out quite a lot.
He didn't lose too many drones in that fight. He's still 63 versus 66. Resources lost is pretty damn close. I'd say one of the most effective defensive drone pulls I've seen versus Roach is just soaking up a couple of shots to stay alive, because once both players max out in Zerg versus Zerg, man, it's a bit of a cliche to say it, but anything really can happen. Yeah. It just comes down to how efficient you can be, because the player that maxes first, Life in this case, he's going to start building up his bank, whereas Snute, transitioning into the much more expensive Hydralisks, he's going to have a rough period ahead before he maxes out.
It's crazy how this works out, really. Tier 1 was speed ++1. Tier 2 was +2 weapons, hitting that with max out. Tier 3 now is here with the burrow movement. But the thing is that Snute is playing a really strong defensive game. He is playing a strong defensive game here, and I'm not sure that Life's going to get much done at the front, but at the back with those few Roaches.
And they're going to try to shark their way over. The best thing, worst case scenario is all he does is pull the army out of position. Best case right now, he starts to kill drones, and suddenly Snute has to react. So Life's going to run up into this. Now the Hydralisk range is about to finish. As long as he doesn't lose so many drones to this harass, if he can keep this army away, those Hydralisks add so much extra firepower to this army. He's coming in. The Roaches have a good spread, but the Hydralisks for Snute are really digging into this army. He even has a Spine Crawler back. I love it when if you can squeeze Hydralisks out, they really make holding these pushes much more easy.
Yes, they do, especially with Groove Spines there as well. So they were shooting way before the engagement was just about to happen. It's seconds, milliseconds, but ultimately they are dishing out a lot of damage. But Life has still played this out very, very clever, because in the end, he killed quite a few drones during that. His economy back home is more powerful because he has a 4th base down the bottom right. Snute knows about this. He has to play a very strong economy game. A good Burrow here, catching some of these Roaches off guard. So anything he can get here is really nice with the better economy.
Yeah, the big problem right now is he wants to hold these Roaches away and just max out again. Snute has 16 pushing 18 Hydralisks. You do not need any more of this. All he needs are Roaches, just tons of Roaches, so that he can keep his supply maxed out, but also to tank for the Hydras, because they will annihilate Life's army. If these two forces fight clash, if he can max out on Roaches, Snute will win. But right now, Life is trying to exploit this period of time where hurting the economy has damaged Snute's ability to make Roaches. These Hydras are great. He just doesn't have enough to tank for them yet.
Yeah, he's truly just looking for a complete overwhelming style, but with, as Kevin put it before, like knife-like attacks here and there, trying to get to those drones, trying to bring down the economy, kind of cripple a little bit of your replenishment style here from Snute as...
He's still building Hydralisks.
Yeah. He is.
Yeah, it's I can't say Hydras are bad, but at some point when you don't have a lot of money, Roaches are just cheaper. It's going to give you a little bit more army supply faster, and 16 Hydras are already going to do the job. You're not making a big leap from 16, 18 Hydras to 22. Not at this point in the game.
And Life now trying to go for double-pronged assaults, drawing the army away. Whilst up to the north, there is a big force, and they could actually snipe out this hatchery if Snute does not react in time. And I mean, this is already getting a little bit tense. He has to be very, very careful here.
Oh, some of these forces not fighting for Snute. He's dropping in supply very quickly. Splitting your army, it's not usually terrible, but in this instance, the Hydras, if they have to fight these Roaches head-to-head, they're still going to take a lot of damage. Like we just have the Infestor sitting here. He doesn't have quite enough energy to make himself useful yet.
He left some Roaches back there as well while someone was retreating out, so he's just still on the look for drone kills. And down to the bottom as well. It's so difficult to divide your army up in this situation when your opponent has a stronger economy, because they're doing
still has Roaches behind the 3rd base mineral line of Snute. Life has drones at his 4th base. Snute is broke. And as nice as it is to have a lot of Hydralisks out on the map, 22 right now, he cannot afford to build the roaches that he needs, because if he takes a straight-up fight, Hydras, yeah, they do a lot more damage, but Banelings being mixed in is actually a really smart choice to counter that. But the point is, roaches just have so many hit points, they're going to walk up and kill the Hydras before they have time to kill anything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at this point, when with Life having the economy that he does, and not seeing too much Baneling, there was a glimmer of one there, but if he penetrates the core of this army, if he does with those Banelings, Centrifugal Hooks is just about to complete. Seconds into this engagement, a few of the Banelings at the front don't really do a whole lot. Some at the back now, though, do have Centrifugal Hooks. They want to bleed on through, but the Roaches here trying to break down that wall at the front if they can get through.
Without enough Roaches to completely block this army off, it's just not possible, I think, to defend all the Hydras. A couple of Infested Terrans get thrown out by Snute, but he is down 100 supply, and Life wants to be the first player here today to advance to the group stage at the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto, and he shall.
Wow, GG. Life just showed exactly why he is almost unstoppable in this matchup. He seized the initiative early on after we saw Snute trying to play around with the idea of going for a little bit of pressure with Zerglings, but after that, it was all life, 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 life. As I said, there was tiers of attacks that he was constantly following up with. If one doesn't work, he's going back and retreating to the next one, and dealing with them all just kind of made Snute cave in.
Yeah, the biggest plays, as you said, especially after that Zergling speed push from Snute, didn't get much damage done. The biggest plays Life was able to make was slipping a couple of his speedlings out while Snute had forces in the center of the map. He killed a couple drones. Later on, being able to get those burrowed roaches in and picking off even more workers. It doesn't seem like a lot. It's one here or there, but it just gave him that economic edge that he needed to have way more roaches. And
yeah,
that's sometimes all you need.
Brilliant insight there, Mr. Nathanius. All right, that does it from us. Let's over to the analysis couch with Paul and the boys.
Thank you very much, Kalaris, there with the final words of a very, very comprehensive victory. Kevin's back with me, along with Todd. I don't want to take anything away from Life, but how much did it? I mean, he said it took a lot out of him.
Yeah,
that's got to have affected him playing again, right?
Well, we saw just the way he looked when he finished his series against Hero. Like you said, he looked like he had just lost.
Yeah,
he was so exhausted, and then he goes immediately into the series against Life. Starts off both games with a very early aggressive build. Goes for that early pool on the first game, 14-14 on the second game. Obviously trying to end this series quickly.
Yes.
And Life was having none of it. He had pretty good defense. There was a moment in the first game where I thought Snute was at an advantage, but he just kept trying to push his advantage into a direct, aggressive confrontation. And sometimes when you get ahead, you need to consolidate your position. You got to fall back and make some drones.
Todd?
I mean, it just looked like Life made Roaches better than Snute overall in the entire series. And
we're back to Roaches.
Life is definitely not uncheesable. I remember, I think it was back in MLG, Scarlet knocked him out, and in the second game it was just like a lot of links and a surprise attack. Sometimes he takes a big gamble, but he's looked pretty good so far in this tournament. You know, he's not wasted any time. He's won every single game that he played, and I guess we finally got our answer of which Life was going to show up here and how well he's going to play. He's just been playing way too good for everybody, and that's including Snute.
Yeah, it definitely has brought his IEM A game, which he had at New York last year, of course, as well, as Naniwell found out in the final. He's through. We should make it very clear, actually, that he's now through to the round of 16. He'll drop into one of the 4 groups that we've got. There's a whole host of fantastic players in amongst those. Scarlet, of course, from the home country, is representing Canada in there as well. There's MC, there's Flash. I mean, there's just some crazy talented players in those groups, and now Life just adds even more quality to those groups. We're going to find out from the lower bracket as well who goes through. Snute does still have one chance of getting through, but again, I want to ask you, how does he just forget about this loss and how tired and fatigued he is mentally right now, and just again potentially have to go head-to-head with Hero? He was one up when we last heard against Stardust.
So at the very least, that series was pretty short. Yeah. And he's got a little bit of a break before he's got to play that next one. So
small mercy.
Yeah, you know, even if he doesn't make it through here, he's at least got a little bit of a breather. Maybe he'll get some food, clear his head, and then he's got a second chance to go at it.
I think Stardust is playing against Hero. Last I checked, Hero was up 1-0.
Yeah,
if Hero wins, he plays Revival.
He does.
Then the winner
then plays Snute.
Yes. So He has a bit of time to think, maybe watch them play as well, try to get some information here and there.
And at the very least, I mean, when I talked to Stardust, he was not feeling very confident against Hero.
No.
And Stardust is like Snute's kryptonite. Snute just cannot beat Stardust recently, and so for Stardust to go out, that's actually quite nice for Snute. He's got he's got the Protoss that he's already beaten, and who. I mean, Hero's definitely, if he plays Snute again, he's going to have thought about that that matchup, that style so much more.
But Snute can mix it up, too. He can change things up.
I was going to say that. He's not like he's got one build and that's all he knows against Hero. He can definitely pull out something different. Doesn't have to necessarily go back to the Swarm host again. I'm also going to point out that it's nearly 8:30 here in Canada right now. Fan Expo closes at 9.
Okay.
I make that 35 minutes to squeeze in 3 games. We do have an extension, you'll be pleased to hear, 90 minutes after that. So I'm just hoping that we can finish off the games today. But I'm sure we'll come up with a backup plan for tomorrow as well. So we're all good. I think we'll hopefully get through the matches that we've got.
Do you think we should try to talk to the venue manager about Swarm hosts and if he can be
I was
understanding?
tempted, but I wasn't sure he would fully understand the complexity.
Maybe if we just had him sit down and watch.
I think you could teach him. I mean, I learnt corner sniping earlier, and
we didn't even get to see corner sniping, and there was no launch pad in that game.
I'm pretty sure we need to hear about this launch pad at some point.
Unfortunately, I don't think Life will know what we're talking about.
The launch pad needs its own Reddit thread of some kind. It really does. And I might just pose that question to Life, who will be with us very shortly. So for now, we'll take a very quick break here in Toronto, but don't go too far. We'll hear from the winner and the man who has advanced through to the round of 16 next. Okay, welcome back. We managed to grab Life very quickly. He's literally just fixing his headset. Forgot his cap, but he's got his cap next to him. Life, great to have you here. We only have the winners here. Okay, tell him we only have winners here.
여기는 이제 승자만이 앉을 수 있는 자리에 오신 걸 축하한다고 합니다.
Thank you.
It's okay. Yeah, your headset's fine. You don't need to. It's fine where it is. That's okay. So when you knew that you had to play Snute, ZvZ. Your ZvZ is fantastic in Korea, so you weren't worried.
이제 한국에서 경기하실 때도 이제 저그 대 저그전이 좋았는데 스누트 선수 이제 외국인 저그 대 저그전을 이제 해야 된다고 대진표가 이제 떴을 때 기분이 어떠셨나요?
사실 그냥 아무나 상관없었는데 그래도 저그전이 편해가지고 정말 좋았어요.
I didn't really care who I would have faced against because I was really confident coming in here, but knowing that it was ZvZ plus a non-Korean made everything much easier.
All right, okay. I'm going to take that as a bit of smack talk. You can tell him that, by the way, because I know he likes to smack talk, really.
네, 이제 살짝 뻥튀기를 해서 도발로 얘기를 해서 그런 거 도발하는 거 좋아하는데.
아, 그래요?
Yeah, okay, no response from that. Fine. We'll move on quickly from that. I'm interested in what's been going on for Life in 2014. You had a great year last year. We saw you win Intel Extreme Masters New York, but this year it doesn't seem like you've had so much success, and doesn't seem maybe as you've been playing so well. How do you feel that this year has gone?
이승현 선수 같은 경우에 작년에는 되게 성적도 좋고 IEM도 우승도 하시고 이랬는데 아이디어 라이프답게 요새 인생에 뭐 어떤 변화가 왔는지 올해는 왜 성적이 좀 안 나온 거에 대해서 어떻게 생각을 하는지.
그냥 전반적으로 제가 너무 열심히 안 했던 것 같고 최근에 계속 게임만 하고 있어서 다시 게임이 잘 풀리는 것 같아서 성적이 나올 것 같아요.
I think early this year, I admit that I wasn't really focusing in the game purely. Now that I gotten rid of all the other stuff that was distracting me, the game's been going great lately, and yeah, I think I'm going to do good in this one.
What is this other stuff? Explain to us, what is it? What distracted you?
그래, 그럼 올 초에는 이제 뭐 경기 게임에 집중 안 하고 이제 뭘 하셨나요? 여자친구?
집중한 건 딱히 없는데 그냥 설렁설렁했던 것 같아요. 게임을 생각 없이 연습도. 그래서
I asked, what are these other distractions? Possibly your girlfriend. He says, no. It's more of a, I just wasn't really pouring everything I had into practicing games, and it was just kind of doing it because that's my job.
Okay.
And so now I'm motivated to get back on it.
Okay. What has motivated you? What changed?
뭐가 변해서 이제 다시 게임에 집중을 하고 이렇게 더 열심히 하게 된 것 같아요.
그냥 너무 안 해서 너무 못해져가지고 다시 잘해지고 싶기도 하고 성적도 내고 싶어서 열심히 하려고요 이제부터.
So before, I always thought I was good enough, and then watching myself kind of degrade down to what I'm not used to be was a shock to me. So I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. I decided to practice and get back on it. So the way I see it is pretty much like, it's like I'm just born good at this game, and then I slipped a couple months, just get back on it and go back on top, just like that.
Okay, that's interesting. It makes I often wonder whether you were human last year when you were playing. So it confirms that you actually are human. So I feel better now.
작년 같은 경우에는 너무 성적도 잘 내고 이래서 뭐지? 이 조그만 아이는 뭐지? 이게 사람이 맞나 이랬는데 이제 인간적인 면이 보여서 되게 좋나 그러네요.
Okay, no response.
No response whatsoever.
I'm losing him here, I can tell. Just very quickly, how important is it to you to win another Intel Extreme Masters? You won Intel Extreme Masters New York last year. I know that you were really happy to do that, but right now, from where you've been playing badly, as you said earlier on in the year, how important is it right now to win this one here in Toronto?
작년 뉴욕 IEM에서 우승하기도 했으면서 이제 다시 이제 IEM 자리에 이제 돌아왔는데 이번 우승이 이제 어떤 의미를 할 것 같고 어떤 각오로 이번 대회를 참가하게 됐는지.
이번 대회 정말 힘들게 혼자서 와서 제 목숨을 걸고 꼭 우승하고 싶어요.
To get to this far, it was such a difficult and long journey because I was waiting for a spot to become available. So I'm actually putting my life on the line to make it happen, that another championship happen. It's funny. I find it really funny because his ID is life. He keeps mentioning the word life in Korean, but in different words.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe we should find some nicknames for him. Maybe the Korean versions of the different versions for life. Yeah, maybe. So through to the groups now. You've looked at the 4 groups, I'm sure. Is there a group that you think you don't want to play in, or a group that you would like to play in?
자, 이제 내일 16강조 같은 경우에는 그룹이 이제 4개가 있는데 이제 오늘 예선을 통과하는 사람별로 이제 하나씩 제가 알기로는 랜덤으로 추천해서 들어가는 걸로 알거든요. 그 중에 혹시 뭐 딱히 들어가고 싶은 그룹이나 아니면 피했으면 하는 그룹이 있다면 어떤 그룹이 되겠어요?
딱히 오픈 브라켓부터 일단 뚫자고 생각해서 그룹을 자세히 못 봤는데 다 어려운 것 같더라고요. 그래서 딱히 상관없는 것 같아요.
어렵다고 생각하는 사람이 얘기할 그게 아니에요.
전부 다 어려워요.
So my goal for this IEM Toronto was just making it through the qualifiers because it was so stacked.
Yeah, it was a tough qualifiers.
Yeah, and I was pretty much practicing to get back on the form that I used to be. So now that I've gotten that through, I haven't really had a deep look into the brackets yet.
Okay. Now, I thought that might be the case. So what I've done is I've printed off the 4 brackets. Choose one. Which group do you like?
여기서 이제 들어가고 싶은 조 하나 골라보요.
솔직히 저그가 많은 지조가 하고 싶긴 한데.
Quick tip for you. Flash. Flash.
영호?
네, 다 어려운 것 같아요. 전부 조가.
I think all brackets are very difficult.
Yeah, I kind of got that. Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I'd pick B because it's got the most Zergs. It's the one with Han in them.
So he's gone for Violet, Yoda, and Hyun. Interesting. So two Zergs in the same group. You don't want Flash?
영호 선수는 말 안 들어요?
Easy group.
임바 되나?
I finally got it
That didn't
out of
even
him.
need a translation.
My Korean is perfect. I think Life said Flash is God. I'm pretty sure that's what he just said in Korean. Right?
Right.
Perfect. That's a great way to finish our interview. Life, thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you here at Intel Extreme Masters, as always. And we'll be seeing him again tomorrow because he will be back for the round of 16 group stages. We do have another match coming up, and it's a big one if you're a foreign fan. That's right, the foreigners have gone full Korean on us here in Toronto. And we'll see Bunny going up against Huck, the hometown favourite, next for a place in the next round.